Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're diving into one of the most powerful tools humanity has ever come up with, the scientific method. It's a way of thinking that honestly has completely changed our world.
But to really get a grip on its power, let's start with a mystery. How could something as simple as washing your hands solve a horrifying medical crisis and, in the process, basically kickstart the world of modern medicine we know today?
All right, so our story really begins with a revolution. We're not talking about one with armies or nations, but a revolution in thought, a totally new way of asking questions about the world.
So, picture this. From the 1500s to the 1700s, Europe went through this massive shift. For centuries, if you wanted to know why something happened, the answer was usually based on faith or what people had always believed. But during the scientific revolution, that started to change. Systematic experiments and observation became the new gold standard for finding the truth. And that shift, it literally laid the groundwork for everything we have now, powering the move from a world of farms to the factories and eventually the information age.
And this new focus on evidence had immediate, life-saving results. It wasn't just abstract. It led directly to incredible breakthroughs like sterile surgery, vaccines, and antibiotics, innovations that turned what was once a death sentence into something we could actually treat. So to see this new way of thinking in action, we're going to jump to Vienna, back in 1846, where a hospital was dealing with a truly terrifying and baffling mystery.
So you've got this doctor, Ignaz Semmelweis, running a maternity ward, Clinic 1, and he was absolutely horrified by the data. The death rate for new mothers in his clinic was a staggering 11.2%. But get this, in Clinic 2, literally right next door, it was only 2.7%. That's 4 times lower. The clinics were identical in pretty much every other way. Something was going terribly, terribly wrong in his ward.
So, Semmelweis is just racking his brain, right? He starts investigating, looking for any difference he can find. And he notices one key distinction. His clinic, the one with the high death rate, was staffed by medical students. The other one, with the low rate, was staffed by midwifery students. But why on earth would that matter?
And then, the light bulb moment came from a total tragedy. One of his colleagues accidentally cut his finger during an autopsy and died a short time later, showing the exact same symptoms as the women dying from what they called childbed fever. That was it. That was the clue. Semmelweis connected the dots. The medical students in his clinic were performing autopsies as part of their training. The midwifery students, they weren't.
And this right here, this is where Semmelweis, maybe without even fully realizing it, put the scientific method into practice. Now, the fancy name for this is the hypothetico-deductive method, but really it's just a structured, logical way to solve puzzles just like this one.
At the heart of all of this is the hypothesis. And look, a hypothesis isn't just some wild guess. It's a specific, testable statement. It makes a claim about how the world works that you can actually go out and investigate to see if it's right or wrong.
So let's just walk through how Semmelweis applied this. Step 1 was his observation, that terrifyingly high death rate. Step 2 was his hypothesis. He suspected that what he called cadaverous particles, some kind of deadly material, were getting on the students' hands in the autopsy room and then being transferred to the mothers. So, step 3, he designed an experiment. He made it mandatory for all medical staff to wash their hands after an autopsy and before entering the maternity ward. And the final step? He just watched the results. He analyzed the death rate to see what happened.
And the result? I mean, it was absolutely miraculous. The death rate in his clinic didn't just drop. It plummeted from over 11% all the way down to about 2%. It was the same safe level as the clinic next door. He had done it. He'd solved the mystery. A simple bar of soap, guided by a scientific hypothesis, was saving lives.
Okay, but you don't always need a hands-on, controlled experiment like the one Semmelweis ran. The core logic of science, forming ideas and then testing them against real-world evidence, that applies way beyond the lab.
I mean, just take something like astronomy. You can't exactly put a distant galaxy into a test tube, right? So instead, we rely on incredibly careful systematic observation. Or think about a super complex field, like climate science. We obviously can't run an experiment on the entire planet. So what do scientists do? They build these powerful computer simulations, using the laws of physics and chemistry to model and forecast how things like global temperature might change over time.
So you might be wondering, how can we trust a computer model to predict the future? Well, the way we do it is actually pretty clever. We test it against the past. Scientists will feed a model historical data, say from the year 1950, and then they'll let it run forward. If that model can accurately recreate the climate changes that we've already seen happen, well, that gives us a lot more confidence that its projections for the future are on the right track.
Now, as powerful as this method is, and it is incredibly powerful, it's so important to recognize its limits. Science is an amazing tool for understanding the observable, testable world, but it simply can't answer every single question we might have.
You see, the whole power of science comes from its ability to test ideas against evidence. So that means that any question that is inherently untestable, well, it falls outside of what science can do. This includes big metaphysical questions like what's outside the universe. It includes questions of faith like does God exist? And really importantly, it includes questions of morality. Science can tell you the likely consequences of an action, but it can never tell you whether that action is fundamentally good or bad. That's a judgment that we have to make using our own values.
And this really brings us to our final thought. The scientific method has handed us an incredible amount of power. The power to cure diseases, to reshape our entire planet, to understand the universe. But what it doesn't give us is the wisdom to use that power well. That responsibility, that's on us.